Let's talk Daboville.
Oh boy.
Now this is going to be quite an interesting discussion here. It's going to come down to whether or not you believe in Dabo Swinney or not, because obviously Dabo Swinney very famously anti-transfer portal, does not partake in it.
Yeah.
So is he able to keep up with competing programs? Now, Kirby Smart isn't a big transfer portal guy either.
No, but he knows the spots where you need to get.
Exactly. You can't just completely ignore it, or at least we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So Dabo Swinney back for his 16th season as head coach. Last year was actually the first time since 2010 that Clemson failed to win 10 football games. So we're talking first time in 14 years that the Clemson didn't reach 10 wins. That Clemson didn't reach 10 wins last year. They finished 9-4. Same coordinating staff beneath Swinney here. Ton of production back, which is a good thing. 33rd in returning production in the country. 14 returning starters, 9 on offense. So a ton of the offense back. Problem is offense wasn't very good last year. And we'll start with Cade Klubnik. He's back at quarterback. Definitely a disappointing season for him. Now, to be fair to Cade Klubnik, the bar is set pretty high to be Clemson's next guy up. What Deshaun Watson, then we saw Trevor Lawrence. When you're the next guy up at Clemson, it's like, hey, are you going to be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft? No, we hate you then. The bar set pretty high for Klubnik here.
Kind of like McCord last year. I thought he was going to transfer just because I think there's such high expectations at Clemson, but I think Dabo kind of begged them to stay because they didn't have much waiting in the wings for him either. So this is
right. Like
they didn't have anything waiting. I think he has to be better. I mean, he was really bad last year.
Look at DJU. They ran him out of town.
They ran him out of town. He went to Oregon State.
The consensus in college football was like DJU sucks. And then he went to Oregon State, had a great season.
Yeah, he was really good. DJU, I think we're going to talk about them, I think, tomorrow. But there's some holes in what he did at Oregon State, too.
Of course.
He was good. But I think Klubnik is one of those. He's like Drew Aller at Penn State. We're going to get to them. They have to be better than what they were because I think their expectations were so high that there's no way they're as bad as they were. Everybody can't be wrong about them. So I think they'll be better. Klubnik will be better. I'm actually a little bit more worried about the running backs because they lost Shipley.
I like the running back.
Shipley's gone, and we did see, I don't know how to say it. I think it's Mafa.
Mafa. Oh, I was saying Mafa. I think it's Mafa.
I think that'll go down a little bit, the run offense with that. But
I disagree.
Okay.
So, all right. So if you're unfamiliar with what we're talking about, their star running back, Will Shipley, is on the Eagles now. I think he was a 4th-round pick. So he's in the NFL. Here's the thing. He went down with an injury last year. And this kid, Mafa, came in and, in my opinion, looked every bit as good. In fact, there was definitely some talk last year when we were doing some of the live shows and stuff that the Clemson rushing attack looked better with Mafa. Not to mention it's Clemson. They're pumping out NFL recruits left and right. This kid, Mafa, I don't think Clemson's rushing attack takes a hit. I think it'll be every bit as good with Mafa. Not really worried about Will Shipley being gone. They're going to be able to run the football. You know that they're going to have NFL talent all over that offensive line. So
yes, 100%.
Speaking of which, 4 of the 5 starters on the offensive line are back. So yeah, the Clemson's going to be able to run the ball. I don't question that. My question is Cade Klubnik. 19 touchdowns, 9 interceptions is not really what you like to see from the Clemson quarterback. Certainly not what they like to see. It's not what they signed up for when they gave him the job. So is Cade Klubnik able to take a step forward this season? That's the question on the offense.
Yeah, I think a team like this, this is where I think the portal comes into play because there were a lot of good receivers that had a lot of experience. They didn't obviously go get any of them. They were one of the only 2 teams in college football to not take a transfer. It was them and Air Force. They decided not to go get anybody. Their receiver room is very talented. They have Moore and Wesco, who were 2 of the top receiving recruits in the country this year. They're young, though. They're not there. They don't have the experience in college football, so that's going to hurt them there. Not having any experience around a quarterback that struggled so much last year, so he's going to be thinking about it too. So I don't know if they necessarily set Klubnik up to not fail, but to be successful this year. But he has to be better than he was. I think marginally the running, like I said, I think the rushing will go down a little bit, but we disagree on that. I don't know how crazy I am about their offense, but that's not usually where Clemson is the best. They're not usually the best offensive team.
Yeah. I think the offense has to be a little bit better, but on the other side of the ball, this is where we really will find out if Dabo Swinney can survive in the new age of college football, in my opinion, because what have we seen over the years with Dabo Swinney's defense? They just keep regurgitating NFL defensive linemen, one after the other. They lost basically their entire defensive line last year. Now, the rest of the defense is okay, and we'll get to it in a second, but they lost basically their entire defensive line. Thing is, theoretically, Clemson's recruiting should have them loaded up again. In fact, I believe they read 2 of their freshmen last year were all American freshmen. So, like, theoretically, they should still be loaded on the defensive line. But in my opinion, this is going to be a true test if Clemson is still Clemson, because they lose their defensive lineman. Can they still reproduce yet another top 10 run defense, top 10 defensive line without utilizing the transfer portal? Because all of their competition, your Georgias, your Miamis, your Florida States, name a couple teams in the ACC, they're utilizing the portal. So can they still pump out? Can they still pull a rabbit out of the hat, lose their defensive line, and pull a top 10 defensive line out of their hat per se without using the portal? That's a huge question in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The not using the portal thing kind of makes it harder to predict this team's run defense, their D-line overall. That, like you said, they're replacing them with 5 stars. That's great. Those guys still have to hit, and you don't know if they will. So the real tough part was understanding if this D-line is going to be good. Because I think the rest of the defense, and I'm sure you're going to get to it, is kind of understandably better, I think, or in some spots marginally worse. They were such a good pass defense team last year that, like, there's no way they're going to replicate that. But also,
the ACC is now loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah. So. Well, when you have Drones, Preston Stone, Cam Ward all coming in, that's
exactly
very difficult.
Not to mention you don't get to play an injured Jordan. Oh no, Jordan Travis played in the Clemson game, so that's a bad example.
Yeah, he wasn't good though. I don't think in that game.
No, I had Clemson and he missed a 27-yard field goal to screw my bet. Yeah. That was heartbreaking. Yeah, that was the right side, and I argued with people in YouTube comments for like a week about that bet. All right. Speaking of the rest of the defense you mentioned, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is gone. He was a 5th-round pick for the Eagles. So another Clemson Tiger is now an Eagle. He led the team in tackles, but they bring back that other linebacker, Barrett Carter is his name. He was 2nd on the team in tackles, and he's back. But I think he's the only returning starter in the linebacking core, and they did lose 3 starters in the secondary. So again, this is kind of like, this is a test. Is Clemson going to give us a top 10 defense without the portal? Can Dabo Swinney still Dougie with all his competition utilizing the portal?
Yeah, I same thing. I said the same thing as you. The linebacking core will be down a little bit. I still think the secondary, you're returning guys like Barnes and Terrell, they're still going to be in the top 20 of the country in pass defense. I don't really have a question about that. It's the front of their defense, their linebacker core and their D-liner that are going to be real questions here. I trust that Dabo Swinney's a smart guy. I don't know if this could be make or break for him here, because there were a lot of people that thought he was going to leave after last year for Texas A&M. But I think the talent theoretically is there, like you said, that they're recruiting at top level every single year. I mean, what was their class? 14th class in the nation last year. So, yeah, I mean, they're still doing a great job getting 5 stars. So they should, by the old college football way, they should still be really good. But everybody else is adding guys that have played college football before, and they're not. So that's going to be very interesting.
So without further ado, let's play the win-loss game. AJ's favorite game. Prop Beaver loves this game. He can't wait to play it. He comes into work. He's like, guys, can we play a quick round of the win-loss game? Week 1 win.
No, they're going to get boat raced out of Atlanta. I told you about that. It's going to be ugly.
Andy's a diehard Georgia fan.
For those of you who don't know, now? That line opened in March at like 13.
It's like 2 touchdowns.
14. They're going to lose by 20.
It's 2 touchdowns. So yeah, you got to say loss. App State win, although like
that's gonna be a fun game. That'll be a very fun game to watch.
App State should be good, experienced quarterback. I mean, App State's gonna score points. I mean, granted, on the road in Clemson, whatever. NC State,
it's a make or break game. They could lose that game because Grayson McCall is to be really good at quarterback, but also if their run defense is still inexperienced, I mean, they're gonna have ETN week 1, App State is a really good running back week 2, and then NC State has a really good running back week 3. If their run defense is going to be isn't going to be improved enough, they're going to find out immediately because they're going to get run on like crazy the first 3 weeks of the year. So I think
NC State could be a loss.
I think that's a toss up. Yeah.
I mean, how about this? If we're NC State or Florida State, they'll drop 1.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think they'll lose at Florida State.
Yeah, I don't think.
And I think it's actually not crazy to say they would lose both, but they'll drop 1. So let's put them at 3-2 after the Florida State game. Wake Forest win, home Virginia probably a win, even though that team's improved. Home Louisville.
I think they get Louisville.
Yeah.
I think they beat Louisville.
At Virginia Tech.
That's a loss. I think it's a loss. That's going to probably be a night game if I had to guess. Or probably the game day game that day. That's going to be an impossible
if you're getting their third loss, Virginia Tech, it comes down to the Cox on Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, they're going to crush them. South Carolina's not going to be good this year. I'm so low on South
Carolina.
Carolina.
You have them at 9.
Yeah. I think I'm closer to 8 though, because I think they're going to lose both the NC State and Florida State games.
Give me the over. I think 10 is more likely than 8, even though I have them, full disclosure, I have them at 9 wins. So, but I think they're closer to 10 wins than they are 8.
Okay. It's really just comes down to, will these young defensive players be anything? And also, will Cade Klubnik get his head out of his ass? Because he was awful last year. So some expectations that he has not reached yet.
All right, next team. We got 2 more. What's next? Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech.
All right. I mean, another ACC team. ACC's on the come up this year.
Yeah, this
a
is
lot of
very
programs that have a lot to be excited about. And the ACC as a whole definitely like hit rock bottom with the undefeated Florida State team not even making the playoff, and then so many down years